Hello, welcome to the first video in the 2020 New York State Summer School of the Arts Sequential Art Workshop with me, Tom Galambos. In these videos, I'm going to cover some of the concepts and techniques we would be learning in class if we were able to meet in person. I'm going to begin at the end, so to speak. Let's take a look first at your assignment. Comics, or sequential art, is a medium that is capable of tackling any subject or topic. We're going to narrow our focus and produce a 3 to 4 page autobiographical comic. These are three of the most well-known and widely read graphic novels in America. You've probably read or at least seen one of these books. They are all memoirs or autobiographies. While these books are each several hundred pages long, we will limit ourselves to very short stories, again 3 to 4 pages. Maus was created by Art Spiegelman in the 1980s and won the Pulitzer Prize. When he wrote Maus, there were very few book-length graphic novels in existence. His book is about his father's experience in Poland and in Auschwitz during World War II, and it's also just as much about his relationship with his father and how deeply it is affected by that experience. Smile by Raina Telgemeier was published in 2010. It was a wildly successful graphic novel, selling thousands and thousands of copies. It is her first-hand account of an accident that knocked out her teeth when she was young, and all of the various consequences of that event. It's a story on a smaller scale than Maus, but just as powerful and impactful. Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi was published originally in France in 2000 and later translated into many languages. It tells about the author's experience growing up in Iran during and after the Islamic Revolution, which changed that country dramatically. Like Maus, it is an historical story from an individual point of view. Autobiography can take many forms. It can tackle important historical events and extend over a long period of time, like Maus and Persepolis, or it can be about small moments in a life. It can be heavy or more lighthearted, like Noah Van Sciver's book, One Dirty Tree. This book depicts a brief period of his childhood during which Noah and his family lived in this dilapidated house. Covering an even smaller snippet of time, Van Sciver's book, My Hot Date, details one day, a date he had with a girl he met online in the 1990s. It's looking back on his teenage years, and it's very funny. By contrast, Rosalie Lightning by Tom Hart tells his and his wife's experience of the sudden death of their toddler daughter and the aftermath as they tried to cope. It's a very heavy, a very emotional, and quite a serious autobiography. Now, we can't talk about memoir or autobiographical comics without mentioning the grandfather of the autobiographical comic, Harvey Picard. He published his book American Splendor for at least 20 years on a regular basis. He was the first person to consistently write about his own life, which was quite ordinary. He was a government file clerk who lived his whole life in Cleveland and found drama in his own sort of mundane, everyday experience. The first issue of American Splendor was published in the mid-1970s. So for this assignment, I want you to think of a short story or a moment or a daydream or something like that from your own life that you can write about. If you're unsure, ask yourself some questions. Who are you? What events might have defined you? What do you daydream about? Do you speculate about the future? What have you seen? What stories do you tell your friends? What stories do people tell about you? What have you heard? Consider all these things when trying to come up with some kind of life event or some kind of minor or major moment that you want to tell us about.